Hi friends, and welcome to today's episode of Booked. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and I will be joined today by Ron Zajac, and we'll be talking about the St. Lawrence Writers' Festival. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Pretty well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. This is very exciting for me. Being able to help promote anything that is to do with writing or reading is so up my street. So I'm really looking forward to finding out more about you and your involvement in the St. Lawrence Writers' Festival. So before we get into the things I just said, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay. Well, I am by day a journalist. I work for the Brockville Recorder and Times newspaper here, and I have had a lifelong commitment to literature, and I've always sort of struggled on the side to launch a literary career. I've been fortunate enough to have eight short stories published, and two more on the way.
Amazing.
And I have now completed a novel, which I am, doing the hard work of flogging and seeking a publisher and so on. And it's been an interesting arc, I suppose. I mean, I've been writing. My first short story was published in the 1990s when I was just fresh out of university. Then I had this period where life interfered, and I tried to keep writing, and I never quite seemed to hit my stride. And then when I hit my 50s, all of a sudden that magic happened. I met someone, as it were, online, a literary publication called Blank Spaces here in Ontario, Canada, and we just seemed suited for each other's literary tastes, and it has run the majority of my short stories since then. And I am building my way towards hopefully having a career as a novelist in this particular fictional universe that I've settled in.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I find that nearly 3 decades doing community journalism has sort of allowed me to build that fictional community in my head, and it just comes naturally to me. So anybody who would read my stories would know that they're distinctly Canadian, and they distinctly have this, one might say, small town chronicler sort of vibe.
Oh, that's fantastic. So in terms of your experiences, so you've been doing journalism for a very long time, and have you still been sort of writing concurrently during that period of time, or has it been like a bit of a break between, like, you had a short story published in the 90s and then you stopped for a while? What was that journey like for you?
No, there was always writing. I think it was a question of just being persistent enough to find your sweet spot, to find your voice. I have a deep interest in science fiction. I actually wrote a master's thesis in science fiction in the 90s, just before the story got published. And I toiled in that genre for a bit, and then came to the realization that I could be competent within that genre, but I really didn't feel like I had much to say that was new. So I decided to switch tracks, and discovered that writing about a fictional southeastern Ontario community, more or less based on the one I live in, it just came naturally. It just sort of, I mean, I'm from Montreal originally. I'm sort of a big city fellow. I went to McGill, so on, but I've lived in this smaller community in Ontario for long enough that it has sort of almost reprinted my DNA, and I'm able to write in that space. So then hit upon things that I am keenly passionate about and interested in. I often write at the intersection of small town life and struggles with mental illness, for instance, which is a topic that interests me. The novel I am now trying to get published is about another topic I was passionate about, which is the treatment of people of different backgrounds, different creeds, refugees and immigrants. I was fortunate enough to cover this community's very compassionate response to the Syrian refugee crisis
Hmm.
of the end of the previous or middle of the previous decade to the end of the previous decade, and
Yeah.
the the struggles and difficulties of integrating an influx of that many people into an environment that would be foreign to them, and
Hmm.
they, let's face it, would be foreign to us, and that accommodation and journalism, traditional journalism, the kind
Hmm.
that I do, had its place in that effort to
Hmm.
sensitize people, to motivate people, and so on. And it just got the other side of my brain, the writer's side of my brain,
Hmm.
thinking and speculating. Well, okay, I'm lucky enough to live in a town that was, for the most part, for the very most part, receptive
Hmm.
to this influx of another culture. What if it was a little bit less so? What would it
Hmm.
look like if there was more resistance, more intolerance? And of course, this was sort of a subconscious reaction to what was happening in the United States at the time. We're talking, post
Hmm.
2016. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
what if things were harder here?
Yeah.
Wrote a story based along that, a kind of response, if you will, to populism,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm pushing now. And I
Hmm.
mean, it looks like circumstances around the world have made things more favorable for that book to get an audience. Though honestly, I wish they weren't.
Yes, I was
But
thinking the same thing.
and that's where I am right now. I'm working on a second novel in that same fictional universe,
Hmm.
centered this time on the theme of homelessness,
Interesting.
which now is one of the key struggles of this place I live in, Brockville, Ontario. It's this sudden
Amazing.
surge of unhoused people, and what do you do to help them? What do you do to support them?
Hmm.
What happens when there is the inevitable pushback in any affluent community to
Mm.
sort of thing? Lots of very interesting and thorny questions.
Yeah, I bet. Wow, that's fascinating.
Mhm.
So, do you feel as a, and I'm talking specifically about your fictional work, do you feel that with your experience as a journalist that you have a responsibility to cover topics like this, or is it just something that really does interest you, or is it maybe a bit of both?
Well, the responsibility lies in the journalistic realm, and
Mm.
especially nowadays, I think my colleagues. My colleagues at Post Media are probably sick and tired of me ranting about social media and how noxious it is. And I hate to say it now because we're probably on social media through this podcast,
I don't like it either.
but anyone with a cell phone can call themselves a journalist nowadays.
Mhm.
Whereas people who, like myself, have been trained in that profession, well, there are standards to adhere to, and there's a
Mhm.
commitment to a sort of impartial, imperfectly impartial, but an impartial
Mhm.
to the truth. All that responsibility to report on these pressing issues happens in that sphere.
Mm.
But as inevitably happens when I am exercising my duty to be dispassionate, as objective as humanly possible, doing this, all of these other questions arise and they all get sort of tamped down and pushed into the subconscious.
Mm.
When they come bubbling back up, that's when my literary side can come out and say,
Mhm.
okay, let's deal with this question. Let's see what it would be like if it were true. And
Mm.
we all know fiction tells truth, but obliquely, and that's what I
Mhm.
get to do.
Well, that's the beauty about being able to write and express yourself through the written word is that you get to exercise these things in a really safe environment so that you don't have to, like, even if you write it just for yourself, it allows you to be able to live out scenarios or consider maybe like dangerous situations and it be totally fine. And you can just say well it's fiction so it's totally okay. But I'm glad that you have that ability to put that energy somewhere that is helpful to you and useful as well. So it's it's interesting to me to because I've never spoken to a journalist before. So I have about 1,000 questions running through my brain, and I'm like, I need to stay on topic. So we're going to stay on topic.
Yeah.
Um, so, in terms of your involvement with the St Lawrence Writers Festival,
Mhm.
how did that come about? Because I know the first festival was last year.
Well, it happened on two fronts, really.
Mhm.
I've developed a friendship with one of the prime movers and shakers of this
Mhm,
festival, Rod Carley.
mhm.
And at the same time, another member of the initial organizing committee is a member of our municipal council here in
Mhm.
Brockville. And it was the member of council who sort of invited me on the sidelines while I was covering
Mhm.
council to be a part of this and say, would you like to moderate a panel? And I jumped at the opportunity.
Wow.
It's one of those things I try to, when you cover a community this deeply, you try to remain, yeah, to maintain a certain level of detachment. And so,
Mm,
unfortunately, I haven't really committed time and energy to a lot of um, extracurricular, as it were,
mhm.
activities in the community. But this, being about literature and writing and writers, it was just so natural.
Mm.
I could not resist. So I was fortunate to moderate a panel at the inaugural festival, and from there I got involved with the committee, and we'll be moderating again in September. And it's just it's an exhilarating experience to do
No
that. To,
kidding.
to be sitting up there with these writers talking about their work, and suddenly you realize there's an audience there too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's thrilling. So, do you, in the sort of like day-to-day planning of the festival, do you have like specific responsibilities? Is it more about like spreading the word? What is it that you'll be doing on the run-up to the festival?
Well, there's a lot of logistics involved. At the moment,
Mm.
I'm playing a part, in a small part, but a part in organizing a St. Patrick's Day themed fundraiser
Oh yes.
called the Pot of Stew at the End of the Rainbow. It'll be long gone by the time this airs, I think. But
Mhm. It's on my birthday.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, lovely. We're having yeah, Irish stew,
Mhm.
Irish music, and Irish poetry all together. So
Amazing.
I was helping organize that.
Mhm.
And other than that, I think that the meetings of our organizing committee are an interesting balance between structure and spontaneity, where
Wow.
ideas arise from just our interaction, and sometimes it'll take a different direction when an interesting idea comes up.
Mm.
It's been fascinating to participate in that. Very
Yeah.
different from the more formal, straight laced sort of municipal politics meetings that I'm
Mhm.
used to covering. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I
Yeah.
mean, when you put creative people in a room, you're gonna get that. There's
Yeah.
always gonna be sparks flying and people coming up with big bright ideas, and then the I find it's the people that like to plan their novels are very much more structured and much more um rigid in how they want to tackle things. And like I'm a pantser. I don't know what kind of writer you are, but I'm just like I'll just go with the flow, and that's how I do my life, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah, no, I am too. I embark on a writing project. I know what my destination is, but
Mm.
how to get there is, no matter how much I try to plot, I will inevitably divert myself once
Yeah.
I start writing. It just something kicks in that's spontaneous and
Mhm.
irresistible. Yeah,
Yeah. That's the best part about creativity, though.
it
I
is.
suppose
Yeah,
if you're having to convey something that's more factual and be more considered in how you present information, that's not as helpful. But if you're like, I'm going to write a story about a dragon or whatever it is, it's much more fun to just see what your brain does. And then the editing is where you have to be more strict about it. But the first draft, you do what you like.
yes,
Um,
yes. It was Sean Connery, I think, in Finding Forrester, who said, "You write the first draft with your heart, and then you rewrite with your head." Yeah.
yes, exactly. Exactly right. So after speaking with Michael Parks, he said that Brockville kind of wanted to revamp its reputation as an arts hub. Do you think that this is something that will be easily achieved, or do you think it will take a little while to get there?
Um, yeah, it's hard to say how long it'll take, but it is
Mm.
definitely happening.
Cool.
I mean, I think the venue for the Writers Festival
Hmm.
itself is such an illustration, literally
Mm.
concrete. I mean, literally an illustration of uh, of this concept, because the Arts Hub Brockville is located in one of the historic downtown churches.
Oh,
The
stunning.
United Church, St. John's United Church,
Mm.
and it was one of these situations where a decade or more ago, the church realized its congregation was dwindling.
Hmm.
The upkeep of such a beautiful building is costs escalate. So what do? We got to repurpose a little bit,
Mhm.
find new income, and new purpose as well. So they struck an arts hub committee that repurposed the sanctuary so that it can be turned into a theater when it's not being used for worship.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
the church hall downstairs is being used for venues, and ever since it's been hosting um, smaller but very vibrant artistic um, events
Mhm.
and projects. There have been fine arts exhibits, there have been
Wow.
theatrical presentations, there have been theater camps, and so. So yeah, a lot of them. I mean, most of the interviews for the panels for the Writers Festival happen on this stage, which is in a church sanctuary. So it's
Wow.
you. I mean, you've got it right there. You have the presence of history in this beautiful
Mm.
stone building, but it's being repurposed to present the arts in a new and fresh way, and to involve people in the arts at a grassroots level. I mean, the other
Mm.
thing it provides is a theatrical venue that is less expensive than our Brockville Arts Center would be, for instance. This sort of thing is happening, and I'm sure it's happening in communities across our country.
Mm.
This reinvention that still maintains its respect for the past and for tradition and for the
Mhm.
beauty that's been handed down to us, in this case, in the form of this architecture.
Wow. I mean, the venue can make all the difference in an experience for something. So it sounds stunning. And I was looking at some images of Brockville, and I want to live there. It looks so nice. It looks like I miss the like smaller town, like older architecture, um, atmosphere, because I live in like a city where none of the houses are older than like 50 or 60 years old,
Mm.
and it's not got the same kind of character. I miss
Mm.
I miss the smell of an old building very
Yeah,
much
well, we
so.
definitely have those over here. Yeah.
So I have never been to a writers' festival. I've never been to an arts festival, largely because I'm too scared to go. Um, would you be able to give me some advice as somebody that has attended, about what to not be scared of and what kind of experience I might have if I were to go?
I'd say, well, be authentic,
Mm.
be yourself. I mean, I discovered this because being in the presence of some pretty big names. I mean,
Mhm.
Linwood Barkley was there last year,
Mhm.
and he's Linwood Barkley. I'm me. I'm not going to pretend to be someone else, but nonetheless, came up to him later and said, "Do you have any words of encouragement for someone starting a literary career when their age begins with a five?" He was very accommodating and told me, as others have, to go Google a list of writers who started late, and so on.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is just be
Mhm.
authentic to yourself. Don't be afraid to ask questions of
Mm.
people. And the advantage of a relatively smaller writers' festival like ours is there is a greater intimacy there, greater opportunities for interpersonal contact with these writers,
Mhm.
and that makes a lot of difference. So I think, I mean, there's something disarming about going into a church sanctuary and having people tell you, "Yeah, you can bring your drink with you. It's okay." I think there's something disarming about that, and the way the panels have been moderated have been very sort of informal, room for spontaneity and audience questions.
Oh, great.
So I think it's a wonderful chance to just drink it all in if you're into writing and
Mhm.
writers. One of the things about the social media age is that there's so much inauthenticity out there,
Mhm.
and the value of words is diminished when there's such a proliferation of them, and so many of them are either meaningless or their meaning is cheapened by other motivations or
Yeah.
manipulations and so on. To just be in a room where people are authentically themselves, Their books are from the heart, and the words they write add value
Mm,
to the lives of people around them. It's just invigorating to be in that atmosphere to begin with and just soak it all in.
yeah. Oh, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't live so far away. So, in terms of the sort of target audience for this festival, so obviously it is a writers' festival. Is it just for writers, or can anyone come?
No, no, it's we definitely encourage the general public to come. We also have a wide variety of interest. We have a YA panel, for instance. We have poetry. We have a romance cruise.
Mhm.
Romantasy is one panel. Speculative fiction. Like there's just so many interests that
Mm,
I mean, you know, as long as you're a reader, I guess you don't. Um, you might leave there with a spark, wanting to be a writer, something
mhm.
awakened in you. But we really do uh, want to spread the word, literally,
Yeah.
among the general public, and get them in here. Yeah.
Excellent. So, what do you hope that people are going to take away from the experience of coming to the festival?
Um, well, at a deeper level, I hope they walk away from there with a deeper sense of what literature can do and still can and should do in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, it was interesting because, you know, Rod Carley, one of our committee members, prime
Hmm.
mover, as I mentioned, talked about being at a literary event, a reading event in Toronto
Hmm.
just the week previous, and was marveling at the way these writers were all sort of greeted as rock stars. He called them word stars.
Oh.
Public just soaked it up, and I think
Mm.
there's this subconscious craving for an authentic experience
Mm.
involving language, an experience that isn't mediated by algorithms, an experience that isn't rendered alienating just by the implicit distance of social media, for instance, or the need to fit into a camp. I think just somebody reading from a heartfelt novel about universal human experiences, that is,
Mm.
people don't realize they miss that.
Yeah.
And one thing I'd like to see people walk away from our festival with is this realization that yes, maybe we have been missing this. Maybe there should be more of this in the
Mm.
world, and go out and snap up as many books as they can.
Absolutely. I mean, I stopped reading for 10 years or something crazy like that. I just sort of fell out of love with it. And then getting into the writing community is actually like, it's made my reading frequency so high that I actually can't keep up with how many books I want to read now, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. So even being around that creativity is an encouragement to actually go and read, because you get to get excited about people's imaginations and the way that they present their heart and soul, because it's a very intimate thing for a writer to let you read their stuff, like what they've written, what they've created. And it's, I don't know, it's just, such a nice world to be in. I feel like I don't want to ever leave this community of people because they're all
Mhm.
just so cool and fun
So,
and interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I usually ask at the end of each show what success looks like to each writer, but I'm going to ask the question twice to you today. So the first time will be, what does success look like to you as a writer?
Um, Success, I guess, right now, success would be um, flipping the script in which, rather than being the moderator of a literary panel, I would be one of
Mhm.
the authors being interviewed with
Yeah.
books, with a book in print, more than
Mhm.
one, hopefully,
Mhm.
and an eager audience. I think, you know, winning the Nobel Prize for Literature was probably a dream I had in my early 20s. But when you grow up, you know, uh, getting novels published, being an author interviewed at a literary festival similar to the one here in St.
Mhm.
Lawrence Writers Festival, success would look like that at the moment for me.
Mm. Excellent. That's very achievable. Very achievable. Maybe this time next year we'll be having a different conversation.
That'd be wonderful. It definitely would be.
So I'm going to flip the question around and focus it on the festival. So what, as part of the the organization of the festival, what does a successful festival look like to you and your colleagues?
I mean, the success would look like growth, for
Mhm.
instance. So, a greater number of people. Um, I guess we have to talk about revenue and bringing in
Mhm.
a higher amount of revenue that leaves us in a position to put on an even bigger festival next year.
Mhm.
Word spreading, beyond our immediate region. We've already received some fairly good reviews from the authors themselves, spreading the word
Oh, great.
in their communities about how our festival is run and
Mhm.
how much fun it is. So more of that on a
Mhm.
greater scale, so that this becomes something durable and annual and
Mhm.
something that our community is known for.
Mhm.
One of the things I had the privilege of covering as a journalist
Mhm.
uh, was in 2003, a smaller town to the east of us, Prescott, Ontario,
Mhm.
started a Shakespeare festival in the summer.
Mhm.
And I got to cover its first year and see it grow, and it still exists today. And some people think of Prescott now, and they think of the Shakespeare Festival.
Wow.
When the Globe Theatre in London in 2013, they toured a production of Hamlet in North America, and the Prescott Shakespeare Festival was one of its stops.
Oh my goodness, that's
So,
amazing.
so a small festival growing into
Mm.
something of that kind of renown.
Mm.
Yeah, success for us would look like something like that.
An international reputation.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you're already getting one because look at us. I mean, I'm in Texas and I'm from England, and we're talking about a Canadian festival. So, I mean, the
That's
reach is
great.
getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, as terrible as things like social media are, because I know I'm going to sound like such a hypocrite because I use it all the time, but it's like a means to an end for me. I'd like to get to a point where I don't have to use it and people just can contact me somewhere else because I just know. But it does allow us to connect with people from across the world, and I'm hoping that it'll be a useful tool for you guys in terms of growing the festival, and people will,
Yeah.
take videos and pictures and share them online and say how much of a great time that they had. So, do you are you seeing already an impact in the local community for having something like this festival around?
Yeah, I would say it is.
Mhm.
It's not it's not flashy, and it's not something
Mhm.
that sort of takes over the entire downtown area, but people are talking about it,
Mhm.
and I think the local reputation is growing. I mean, we've had a successful year, so we've proven to the community that we can do this in their
Mhm.
midst and be successful and bring people in. And the more that grows, I think the greater the pride and the realization will spread.
Mhm. Excellent. And one of the last things that I want to ask you is so during this period of time, because I was talking to Michael Parks about the sort of setup and what the organization looks like and what people can expect for events during the 3 days of the festival. So I think that there is a fair amount of downtime so that people can sort of wander around the local area. Are there any places of interest that will be exciting for people to experience, if especially if they're out of town, from out of town, rather?
Well, I mean, Brockville is located in the Thousand Islands,
Mhm.
and this romance writing event. It's known as the Love Boat Cruise.
Mhm.
Actually, it's our own Thousand Islands cruise boat company. It takes people out on that tour, so
Oh, cool.
they will definitely. Um, be very close to a splendid view of the St. Lawrence River.
Mm.
And in September, I mean, I don't know if it's too early for fall colors, but it's still gorgeous. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful area. Lots of great shops and restaurants in our downtown area to immediate walking distance. Yeah, there'll be other things to take in. We have, as I mentioned, the Brockville Arts Center. I'm not sure what'll be what'll be on there in terms of any live entertainment, but there's still lots going on.
Excellent. Well, before I wind down the episode, is there anything about yourself or the festival that you didn't get a chance to talk about that you'd like to make sure that we mention today?
Well, I mean, I'd just like to say that, no matter where you're located, if you can make it down here, I think you'll get a wonderful experience out of it. It's such a wide range of different interests being represented, from some great indigenous writers to speculative fiction to romance, as I mentioned, YA. There's just so much for so many people that it's worth making a trip down here and experiencing something that you could find in larger places like Toronto, but experiencing it here at a smaller scale gives you that intimacy, that chance, that greater chance for one-on-one contact with some of the authors that you've probably read.
Amazing. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you and learn more about your role with the festival. If you are watching this and you are interested in attending the St. Lawrence Writers Festival, I will put a link in the description of this video, just in case you want to buy tickets. I know they're not available at the time of recording, but they might be available by the time this episode goes out. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Of course.